can't I plug Rob's channel for him?
It's truly been a fascinating journey watching the show go from horny demons to sad horny demons to now very horny demons. Here's the number 666 again because, of course, me, it is just not fair to start this episode out with a 2-second shot that has this much detail. First of all, there's a ton of completely unnecessary details in the environment.
Fuck off, Fluxo.
Even after somebody tried to padlock it, this dude who crashed the wall, one dude just parked across 2 spots. To the absolute genius who decided that the guy who drives a tank is a fucking handicapped.
That's funny.
Is the sin counter about to go into the negative? No, that can't happen. In fact, while it is impressive to see that these artists made 62 unique cars, let's see if they kept those cars consistent from shot to shot, shall we? Oh, wait, they did? They did! Okay, here we go. Blitz's car was like 2 feet from his parking spot before he's suddenly a lot further away in the next shot so that Roscoe could steal it. Second, Roscoe's car is nowhere to be seen. And even if her car popped out from behind this corner, the very frame that we pushed to the new angle, her car would need to be moving faster than light to reach the spot before Blitz. The Mobile honks its horn even though Blitz never touches it. This line makes 0 sense unless you are, in your first viewing, paying close enough attention to the details to actually read this tiny-ass license plate by the time it cuts away again. I don't know about the rest of you, but on my first viewing, I did not read this plate in time, and I thought that this was a pretty weird line. Speaking of things that aren't obvious in your first viewing, because of the fact that Blitz is suddenly a lot quieter in the shot of Roscoe's reveal than he was in the previous shot, I didn't even hear the line about how this is specifically in his parking spots. I mean, yeah, she stole the last spot in the lot, but we don't know if they own this spot unless you heard this line. And yeah, I'll be nitpicky. And also, yeah, it's possible I'm just not very the person on my first viewings. But why did changing the angle from this spot to this spot make Blitz's voice quieter? He's using the goddamn megaphone.
And I should have known you'd be here when I heard the Amber Alerts.
Ooh, even for this show, that joke is... Ooh.
Rehab is for sad loser wash-ups.
My lord.
Your sister says hi.
I wish I made some more YouTube videos.
Still pretty low, but let's get this out of the way right away. This voice actor fucking owns this role. So let me just remove a quick sin for, Christina V. Wait, what? Fucking what?
It has my name on it.
When the did she have time to do that? Where did Billy go?
Oh, Matt Blitzo.
Roscoe pronounces Blitz's name wrong for the whole episode, nobody ever addresses it. Probably because Viv and Brandon thought that the stroke had run its course already, but I can't help but imagine a much funnier possibility, however slim it may be, that they gave Christina V her script, didn't tell her that the O was silent, and someone didn't catch this mistake until after she recorded all of her lines and it was too late to change it.
Run 3 rings around and max my credit cards on shitty horse riding lessons.
Sure, they both remember every single detail of the story, but have you ever had 2 people tell the same story at the exact same time and say
One time.
the same words at the exact same time without rehearsing at first? I love the detail of the INP having that stupid stick family sticker on their van. And also, and I'm going to be weirdly analytic for a brief second here, but I love this type of gag that makes you think you're only looking at Blitz for the whole shot, but then have Luna unexpectedly appear in a frame for a joke. Then, once you think that that's the whole joke, you have one character after another appearing unexpectedly to add to the bits. And I think that specifically the visual aspect of each character's surprise appearance into the frame without ever cutting away, it makes the type of fit work. But if we're being realistic here, first of all, what kind of position was Millie sitting in for her to end up in this position with nothing more than moving her head straight up? Second, after Moxie opens the door, you find that Millie's ending position is just as impossible as her starting one because you see that she's sitting on the side of the seats, which she could not have had enough leg room to do when Moxie opened the door. And third, if you look really closely, you can see that Moxie is drawn on the layer above Millie, meaning that when Moxie has to pass Millie to leave the van, he somehow squeezed his way in between Millie and the car's seat when he passed her to exit the van. So yeah, sorry guys, even though this is a very fun bit with some cartoon logic and physics that should be expected and even encouraged by the nature of this bitch, the whole thing is completely ruined because I looked at the scene through a lens that no reasonable person would ever look at the show through.
It's Verosika Mayday. It's you.
I'm a YouTuber to make some money.
Type of character who isn't even capable of being me. Where the hell did this low blow come from?
You want to know what sex with Michael Crawford was like?
Addressing the fact that Moxie is bisexual through a single, completely natural line of dialogue. Like, seriously, I know that people were expecting me to get sentimental over a line like that, but first we have all the demons from the Has-Been pilot, and now we have Moxie being added to the list of characters who are written with their sexual orientations in mind, but without being explicitly told where their preferences lie, and making me feel like we, the viewers, are being preached to. I just cannot overstate how much I love Izzy Pop's completely natural approach to diversifying her casts. And before this episode gets a cease and desist notice from Nintendo. Dropping the frames for the shots.
Oh. Whoa.
Viv, you know not the forces you're playing with.
I don't really listen to what's classified as pop genre music. So their status to me is...
Jeez, Moxie is just as pretentious as all those annoying metal gatekeepers. They keep on telling me that I'm trash for liking Five Finger Death Punch. And so the concept of something popular also being good is completely inconceivable. This magic door completely drowns out the incredibly loud music, but without drowning out the dialogue. That's nice. Hehe, sexual harassment and borderline assault is funny. Blitz Steel stole his unique character gimmick.
That's it!
Wow, that time the door actually turned the music off. Such a thoughtful door. I feel like casting an anime voice actor comes with the mandates that you need to make a picture at least, even if she isn't voicing an anime character. Everybody laughs and then says, oh, you're serious, cliche. Veroska is suddenly twice Blitz's size when she wasn't this huge in any other scene.
Alright, shut your asshole.
Does Brandon Rogers really need to include a swear in every single sentence to believe Brandon Rogers? Also, the metric ton of horse related stuff was actually led some people to think that this episode might be hinting at Blitz getting a horse later in the show, because they haven't studied up on Instagram lore. Yeah, so we didn't know that's a thing. Blitz included Luna on this plan, even though he had absolutely no intention of letting her come along yet. Okay, but I love absolutely everything about this crudely drawn and animated scene of Blitz's plan. I guess I gotta remove yet another sin.
Why was that nonsense?
That wasn't a question.
That wasn't a plan.
This little exchange is one of the best jokes in the whole episode. But why was that nonsense? Technically is a question, so...
Is there a way I can come with you guys this time?
Luna asked the question that's been on everybody's minds at the beginning of the show. I love Boss mocks its own fans.
Do you have a human disguise? Yeah, don't you?
Between that fourth wall joke and now this, I feel like half of this scene was written as some kind of response to fans. Blitz's terrible advertising skills were played as a joke in the pilot, but this time the joke is that his terrible marketing somehow works. Also, speaking of Instagram lore, here's this chick that I didn't know was from the Instagram that covered the last episode. And I'll definitely miss more of these references in the future, because I just can't be bothered to keep up with all of this. Also, Bold and Mivsy put an established character in this lineup. Now all the fans are going to be asking way too many questions about who Travis wants to have killed. Haha, the dumpster is where you put all your f***s. Also, this guy popping pills is another example of possible budget cut plus animation. And to that I say, how dare this completely free-to-watch show cut corners in fairly reasonable places in a field where even professional productions sometimes need to resort to making recap episodes because of up to the restriction budgets. How dare they? What kind of demon powers does this one have? Those are tracking with such a piece of paper that they never touched. Whimsy Pop and our team have clearly established the fact that they know that fans have Rule 34 demons to help them back. And yet they still make the decision to introduce human movements to the show. These people looked straight into the face of death and said, "Here, I brought you a second sight. Take it as a token of how you don't f***ing scare me." And now they're also introducing more and more abilities. The fans will be constantly speculating about every single insignificant detail that functions and limitations. The show implies that most men are horny enough to immediately bang a hot stranger in an alley without any questions just because he's offering. Actually, that's pretty accurate. If I had a nickel for every time Music Pop referenced this specific meme in their cartoons, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that I was able to make this joke for 4 videos in a row now. Ah yes, my favorite ice cream flavor, regrets. We're trying to keep a low profile. This dock is pretty close to the beach. These guys will be shoving bodies into noticeably bloody bags in broad daylight. Coachella. Also, this girl's sunglasses move with her actual eyes. I'm probably just as out of touch with pop music as Moxie is, but I can't imagine such a mellow song being a big hit. Don't get me wrong, making it a Bone Town absolutely succeeds at what it's setting out to do. It's an excessively horny piece of pop music that even feels like it could be a real song. But I don't think that having a song with nothing but chill and mellow vocals coupled with chill and mellow music arrangements with little variation is a recipe for respect as an artist. Unless you use traditional rock instruments to make the song 11 minutes long. Then your music will be classified as prog and yield as a genius.
What are you? A leprechaun?
This episode addresses the fact that imps shouldn't be able to realistically hang around Earth without disguises, but then falls right back into the same safety net of people being too stupid to notice or care. The fact that this little doll is sitting on top of the vomit implies that this guy puked it up, and just... what?
I'm Luna.
Hey, Faith!
When Luna says, "I'm Luna," her voice gets a little weird, but it's not nearly bad enough to warrant Vortex jokingly mocking her like that. In fact, it's so hard to notice that I'm still not entirely sure if that's even the joke that they were going for.
I'm Luna. I wish I had friends.
Who taught Luna how to flirt? Crystal Laporte? The Honeycats fans will get it. Moxie is already pinker than Millie, even though he isn't drunk yet. Hey, you guys remember when episode 1 established that Moxie has a moral compass? Yeah, me neither. I actually had to pause the video to read the stupid sign. Whoever put this there, bravo, but also f*** you.
I was almost 18.
There's nothing quite like a piping hot cup of fan tears. This fight may not be the climax of the entire episode, meaning that it doesn't bother me nearly as much as the previous one did. But I think that this
Look, there's actually this reveals popping up on my channel.
namely the fact that Blitz is being an over-sheltering parrot, and it would make logical sense just to annoy Luna on paper, but the episode itself doesn't actually do anything to make us really feel the fact that this is pissing off Luna and that this argument is a long time coming.
Well, it shouldn't. I didn't need you then, asshole.
Actually, I would have been more than happy to ignore this scene altogether, but this f***ing cheesy music cue here forced me to realize these people really think this scene is moving me. So I'm adding a second scene for the music. For real, I probably would have left the scene alone if it didn't take an extra step and come off as kind of try-hard. A perfectly normal reaction to being yeeted across the beach and directly into a circle full of humans that should not in any way be a surprise to anybody who has eyes and can see where they're about to land. Beer possum. One doesn't accidentally drink something. If anything, you might accidentally inhale it, which leads to a completely different outcome. Granted, you could theoretically make the argument that, as far as we know, imps could actually have the ability to inhale liquids without any problem. But until we're explicitly told otherwise, we're going to label this as a writer's convenience. This beer keg is still practically full when Millie dumps it. Moxie's a freaking lightweight.
Hey, what did you get for hands? I wanna kiss him.
God damn it, I feel like I've been too nice this episode already, but I can't not remove a sin for drunk Moxie. Somebody specifically drew Moxie's face to be a little squished against Millie's... Yeah, they did this on purpose. It took 3 full minutes for the gigantic sea monster to finally start sea monstering. Strange said Weirdovich. Santa's peppermint vodka. Okay, fine, I'll remove 2 sins for drunk Moxie, but you're not getting a third one out of me. There's also a really funny detail in Moxie's tail here. Okay, I swear to God, this will be the last sin removal. I actually go back to these episodes sometimes and just read the comments when I'm bored. And I find it funny how I'm not the only one to question how Millie got knocked out with a bottle in episode 1, but then single-handedly slayed a giant fish monster in episode 3. The magical Santa of this speech does just as good of a job muffling Moxie's voice as that studio door from earlier.
I am not a possum.
We could keep this little B-movie scene on the down low.
What? I don't remember anything about there being bloodbaths in the beach. Have you watched the same B movie?
My girlfriend throws a ton of crazy hound parties.
Texas canonically revealed to have a girlfriend. Nobody ever shipped him with Luna ever again. What?
Alright, sluts. Get ready to suck a lot of pig dick.
The mentality of a true bard. I f my way into this mess and I'll f my way out.
Random shit. That's what it should be called.
It's here, the Menards Black Friday.
So I'm trying to get some videos, guys, done made for you guys. I mean, I got some premieres coming up, guys. Got a premiere coming up New Year's Day at 9 in the morning.
This 4,500-watt generator on sale for $289.99. This 3-burner flat iron griddle features 520 square inches of cooking space. Get it for only $219.99. Check out these and more amazing Black Friday deals at Menards. Available in store only while supplies last. Save big money at Menards.
November
Out of the 73
26.
not including the really high number of sin removals, I was really only serious about 5 of them, but you could probably lump them into just 3 main points. First, at the very, very, very bottom, we have the potential warning sign for the future of the show, but it's still far too early to say for sure, which is how Millie and Moxie might be showing signs of not having consistent personalities. And before you get on my case about this, believe me, I cannot put enough air quotes around that statement. But there was that one joke from Millie, and the fact that if you count the pilot, Moxie's personality has been flipped twice now. We had him going from having no problem dismembering a child, even if he was kind of a dick, to refusing to kill people who try to murder him, his boss, and his wife, to having no problems with going on a mass slaughtering spree over the pettiest pet imaginable. And I already know that people who have their counter-arguments ready. They might say that after Moxie saw what became of their family, he might have realized that it's pointless to try and spare them, and this whole event made him rethink his philosophy or something like that. But, and I want the fans to fucking quote me on this, I don't think that it should be the fans' job to interpret something that the show itself forgot to explain. But again, all this doesn't actually bother me, it just might be a discussion worth having in the future when we've actually seen a little bit more of the show. Yeah, I'm adding Sin to the closing thoughts now. Don't look too deep into it. This entire ending shtick was entirely inspired by Cinema Wins. I just haven't been doing a very good job replicating it until now. Anyways, the second equally tiny nitpick I had was with Blitzen and Luna's argument scene. Even though I added 2 scenes for this bit, I can't stress enough how much this fight didn't actually bother me that much. But if I'm strictly looking for ways that the show could be improved upon, then this would be one such scene. Although to be fair, it probably couldn't be improved upon much without some heavy rewrites the entire episode. So again, it's really not a big deal. And finally, the biggest issue I had with this episode was that one weird exchange between Luna and Tex. Yeah, that was the biggest flaw in this episode, and it was a tiny flaw. Hell, even that bit where I was picking on Veronica's song, I wasn't actually picking on the song. That whole bit was, and I'm not kidding here, nothing but an overly long setup for a prog rock joke. The song itself was fine. So basically, this is my favorite episode of Hell of Lost so far. But this wouldn't be a Random Game Critics Cinemas video if I didn't bitch about the fandom for a minute. I'm actually planning on uploading a full-on video essay where I break down my thoughts about the fandom at certain points and explain why I think it could be hazardous to the series if you aren't careful. But there is one little point that I kind of want to touch upon right now. There was a very telling Reddit thread that I saw the other day. Somebody pointed out the fact that Rosca Mayday appears in another scene in the trailer, implying that she'll be back at some point. At which point, I saw the following exchange in the comments. And I apologize if these 2 random Redditors are watching this, but that's happened before, actually. Anyways, one of the top comments of this post said, I think that's why episode 3 seemed to be more of a filler episode. It was introducing us to Rosca. And then somebody responded with a lengthy comment that basically explains the idea that this episode was just laying the groundwork for something bigger to come. But what really tilted me a little bit was when this guy called it a filler episode, and a bunch of people agreed with him. And it's not just these 2 guys either. There are a lot of people out there that just aren't content with each episode being its own individual episode.
My
Just be the start of something
Cass County.
grander on the horizon.
What?
Look, guys.
Mom!
think
Mom!
it's
Mom! Mom!
And again, I can always be wrong, only time will tell, but I'm pretty sure that I even remember Vivian Madrano herself saying the Hell's Boss has heart, but it's mostly going to be a comedy show, because Hasbro Mattel is going to be the more story-focused one. We don't even know if these episodes are connected in any way. The events of the pilot were never brought up again. The events of the first episode were never brought up again. The events of the second episode were never brought up again. So far, the first 3 legit episodes of the series have been entirely episodic, that you can watch in any order and nothing would change. I don't think that this show is going to have a gigantic arc that's going to be slowly built up over this first season. I think that this show is just going to be a series of individual episodes that are fun to watch and occasionally a little heavy, and that's all. And personally, and I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, and that's perfectly fine, but personally, I don't want Hell of a Boss to be more than an episodic series. I don't care about whether or not we expand upon Blitz's relationship with Verosika. I don't care if we never get a backstory for how Millie and Moxie met. I don't care whether or not Stolas' feelings for Blitz are strictly horny or if there's something more like how a lot of fans imagine they are. I think that Hell of a Boss is a cartoon that is designed for episodes like this one.
Howard.
An entertaining conflict that somehow
Howard. H. How.
fighting over parking spots. This is what I think this series was meant to be.
Howard.
And it's possible that we might get individual episodes that are a bit heavier, yes. But I don't think that you should be expecting
Am I?
to later become relevant in a much grander arc. I think you should be expecting every episode to be a filler episode, because that's what this show is. But again, it is still too early for me to say for absolute sure that Hell of Boss is definitely designed to be an episodic show rather than a serialized one. But by that same logic, it's also too early for you to tell me that I'm wrong.
I'll call HR.
Okay, he's getting random shit done.
Welcome to heaven. If you did something to get here.
Or, depending on your theology, you could have been the biggest piece of shit imaginable or still gotten into heaven as long as you repented and believed in Jesus and shit. First of all, that shark is wandering through the alleys like it belongs there. Second, it's a well-known fact that 4 different animals from 3 different species will absolutely cooperate in order to hunt together. No, I'm not giving you a source on that. Just trust me. And third, why did they have to shove Colin in there to get mauled when they already saved the girl? Don't worry, guys. I'll hold them off. I'm the only one stopping them from climbing up the wall like a bunch of f***ing geckos. I have several questions about this giant heart-shaped building. Is that some sort of resort? Does it have a hotel too? First of all, that's a meme. That's just a meme that somebody thought would be funny to put in the show. Second, it's one thing for glass to go flying everywhere, but how does this guy get his gear shifter stuck in the ceiling? And third, this guy straight up does not deserve to be saved. Not only was there alcohol in his car, but even worse, he was in the middle of creating an anime profile picture for Twitter. This man is not going to heaven. Yeah, those old TVs are definitely known for exploding and getting shot with a single pistol round. The new TV instantly has a satellite connection without being plugged into anything. Hell, not even plugged into power cord, which is actually loading gunpowder into the slinglock pistol, which means that we're seeing this gun being used accurately 4 episodes too late. Sudden Betty Boot porn. Sudden Looney Tunes homage. First of all, don't. Second, let's either have 2 copies of this rag poster or we'll continuity over here. You know you're working for a company with no money, but each employee has their own designated disposable cup.
Is that a hell shake?
Hell shake?
Earthquakes don't happen.
Oh, hell quake, like an earthquake. That makes more sense. Why did Blitz say hell shake?
Stop getting hysterical, Fatty!
Hey, remember the pilots? Remember how Moxie has panic attacks? Remember when Luna called Moxie fat that one time? Remember the pilots? Oh god, Jesus, Luna went native for a second there.
How are you?
Millie went so southern that I actually thought she asked how are you for a second.
Dustin, the inventor of all things loopy and loopy.
How does a seemingly mentally sound inventor seeking immortality turn into a crazy guy who exclusively invents all things loopy and loopish within minutes of arriving in hell?
Shut up, dear furry.
Dear furry, no, those are the Alistair fangirls you're looking for. And for the dozens of people who legitimately didn't think I knew what a B-movie was in my last video, yes, I know if you said deer, not deer, that was the joke.
Not even a shit length of time in hell.
How long is a length of time exactly? So an old movie. They're really leaning into the old timey stuff in the first few minutes of this episode.
It could have saved the whole 3 trillionaires.
Haha, rich people bad.
Unfortunately, we neglected to test the machine on the poor, like we usually do.
Okay, now you're pushing it a little. The machine has actually switched to young here, but has flipped over to old in the very next shots.
Yeah, that's not really evil. If we do kill him, though, and he ends up down here, you will be stuck with him.
Okay, this conversation really should have been between Lupti and Moxie rather than Lupti and Blitz. Yeah, I know that it's super important for us to get our monthly allowances of Moxie abuse, but you will never convince me that Blitz is the kind of guy who gives a flying f*** about who they kill or why. Either Blitz actually has a conscience and Viv and Brandon could have done a better job of showing us this, or this is the single most out-of-character moment that we've seen in this entire show so far.
That's kinda hot.
Ah, so Moxie is the type of guy that will fall for any psycho killer, not just Millie. Okay, noted.
To your right is the home of famous inventor Lyle Lipton.
And in every other direction is absolutely nothing from Miles and Miles. This has got to be the lamest tour ever. Who the fuck gets on a tour bus from one stop? I mean, my big talking point from the last episode was how people need to stop thinking that these episodes are connected to each other. But here we are watching the IMP running around in disguises immediately after the previous episode where they were called off for not wearing disguises. I mean, I can still stand my ground and say that you don't need to watch the previous episode in order to understand why they're wearing disguises in this one. But this episode still very much gave the overthinking and over-analytical fandom some solid ammo to use against me.
Things like this can happen to famous people all the time.
Which is why most famous people have some sort of security system for their houses. Hell, tons of typical suburban households have security systems, but not the trillionaire?
Goodbye, my one true love.
Haha, nobody ever loved him. Wait a second, who the f*** hired the sheriff to save him then?
My shitty old body can't do anything about you.
Oh no, if only you had access to a de-aging machine that still very much works. 3.2 seconds. 2.8 seconds.
Can Mary tie it for you?
1.5 seconds. 1 second. Less than 1 second. 1.6 seconds. Alright, here comes your needlessly deep analytical nitpick for this episode. Even though this cutaway gag between these two shots was possibly my favorite joke in the whole episode, it went by a little too fast. The editing really disrupted the flow of this scene.
On behalf of those in heaven, benefited by your amazing technological advances.
F***ing who? You literally established the fact that they were only going to share this technology with the 3 trillionaires who are still alive.
My shipping team in the process.
I know what I plan on doing.
Never make a character physically speak in mean language. I'm sure that everybody in the writing room thought that this line was hilarious when they just read it on the script, but hearing it spoken out loud completely unironically makes me cringe a little bit.
We can help spread his wealth around the world.
No. Okay, I can't be bothered to put out every single instance for this episode makes it abundantly clear that nobody in heaven would ever ask the sheriff to save this man, so I'm just going to add 5 more sins and then move on.
He's classier than that.
Yeah, really, instead of using guns, you should kill him with an electric chair or a lethal injection. You know, something that's humane and completely painless 100% of the time without fail ever. Jesus, this gotta be the darkest joke I've ever written. I hope that I literally couldn't bother to animate Billy puking.
Gonna buy that little shit, my baby, and the sheep that fucks.
Okay, props to Vincent for voicing this character. Not only is she probably my favorite of the 3 cherubs, and not only does she sound right at home alongside seasoned voice actors, but despite the fact that I've listened to this woman talk for hours on Ender and countless live streams, I had no idea that it was her. First of all, fursuits. And second, why is the IMP even wearing disguises at all? I already saw all 3 of them. First of all, yes, a bear can definitely turn a wolf into a bloody gory mess with only one swipe. Totally. Second, this chainsaw cuts off both of this guy's arms simply by falling past him one time. And third, yeah, bucks will totally charge straight at a man for absolutely no reason. They definitely wouldn't run away from a person just from breathing too loudly in its vicinity. That's common knowledge. Just ask anybody who hunts them. Cherubs casually destroy property. Sam Todd. Also, depending on what month the store opened, I might be older than ice cream. Craft mine. Ooh, they really gnomed us. Are we going to get f***ing rickrolled by the end of the season too? Busy thinks that she's slick for adding this girl into the shop for some nice continuity, but she didn't have any injuries after she magically reappeared back into the classroom second after being yeeted through the ceiling. Arguably, this should be a sin for the first episode, but I didn't catch it, so I'm adding it here.
I've never been in love before.
But Lyle already said goodbye to his quote one true love earlier in the episode.
And this place reeks of teenagers.
This one really bothers me. Lyle saying that this place reeks of teenagers is literally the only indication we have that there might be teenagers hanging around this area. We don't see them, nor do we see a single hint of how many there are, or how close by they are until the moment we see them all leave. This is the kind of thing that would normally happen in a live-action movie after somebody just forgot to film something and they just kind of did the best they could in the editing room.
And you 3 are so superior to us just because we want some selfish, greedy, authoritarian.
As hilarious as Moxie's animation is here, the word authoritarian, by almost all definitions, refers to somebody who's in a position of government and has actual power to suppress people. Now, you could argue that Lyle might be rich enough to